All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from the Eastern time zone and good morning to the rest of you. My name is Matt Eilers. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer here at USA Financial, and welcome to the Advisor Advancement Mastermind series. Good to have you back. Today's format is going to be another live case study where you get to be a fly on the wall and learn what makes some of the best advisors that we partner with successful. So I really hope that you find today's live stream to be a bit different. We're not going to be getting into things like products, pricing, performance, the things that we're inundated with in this industry. Rather, we'll be focusing on things like philosophy, strategy, process. Today, we are joined by some great friends, longtime partners of USA Financial, a husband and wife team from Raleigh, North Carolina, Jim and Teresa Yent, who affectionately are known by many of us here at USA Financial as Jimisa. They're probably going to hate me for sharing that one, but I'm really excited for you to hear a bit about what makes their practice so unique and exciting and how they've really turned it into a machine that clones their best clients. When it comes to harnessing introductions, Jim and Teresa have really cracked the code, so we're excited to have them here. We'll also be joined by my colleague, our Chief Marketing Officer, Mark Mersman, who you'll definitely recognize if you've joined us before. So today's conversation is going to be a lot of fun. Something that I'll ask of you, especially for those that this is your first experience with USA Financial, take some notes. Make note of any of the various items that seem of interest to you throughout the conversation today. A lot of today's discussion is going to be about Jim and Teresa's practice and what they've done over the years. But along the way, you might hear some items that are discussed around different tools or systems or processes that are offered by USA Financial. If one of those jumps out, write it down. We'd love to connect with you and have a chat. At the end of the day, USA Financial typically works with advisors who have hit an inflection point in their practice. Whether it's time for a new marketing approach or time to explore how to scale, most advisors end up working with us feel like they've hit a bit of a glass ceiling. And after today's event, our team would love to spend some time with you connecting about areas of your practice that you feel could be improved upon. So we're really focused in on helping advisors who, sometimes can feel like they're forgotten where they're currently partnered. We want to help them focus on building their ideal practice. So we'd love the opportunity to chat, have an exploratory call, and see if our expertise is a match for what you're trying to accomplish. So be sure to jot any items down that are of interest to you. Lastly, before I bring in Jim, Teresa, and Mark, I want to touch on a quick housekeeping item. At the bottom of your screen, you'll notice a little set of bubbles that say Q&A. If you have a question for any of us during this live event, please go ahead and type it in there. We will do our best to answer that if time permits. So with all of that said, I'm going to ask Mark and Jimisa to please fire up your cameras, unmute yourselves, and I'm going to kick this off and hand it over to Mark and our special guests for the next 45 minutes. Jim and Teresa Yent of Golden Years Advisors.
All right.
Party.
Thank you, Matt.
You bet.
Jim, Teresa, thank you. So, gang, I want to start letting everybody know about the whole concept of yin and yang. If you're not familiar with it, it suggests that opposite or contrary forces actually are complementary, right? And to one another. And I in many ways, elevate one another and improve each other. And I think this is very much true for these two. I think you'll find that as we chat here for the next little while. So I've had the good fortune of knowing these two for 15 years now. I think it was 2006 that we met you guys. And so aside from loving your craziness and fun attitudes, it's been a joy to see your practice grow. So I want to start with you guys sharing a little bit about how you two became business partners. Obviously, you're married. Don't need to know that side of it. That's a whole nother story, I know. But how did the business partnership, how did that start?
Well, it's her business, first off. Yeah, back in the late 1990s, I was trying to find a new career. I had children in elementary school, and I wanted to have some flexibility, be there to send them off to school and be there when they got home. Or if I wasn't home, they knew mom was going to be there any moment, so they couldn't get into mischief. Ability to take time off, paid vacations. And I said, I want a residual sale. And he kept saying, I think you want to sell insurance. I was like, no, I don't want to sell insurance, that's for sure. But I went out and got an insurance license and first started in health insurance. That lasted 6 weeks with being a captive agent. And then I went to an agency. And then eventually I got into the senior market because, grandma and grandpa were a lot easier about me having to call them and reschedule because the kids were sick. And I really enjoyed working in the senior market. I was a little bit afraid of it. I never really had grandparents, so I didn't know how to work with older people, and I ended up really enjoying it a whole lot. And then I ended up starting my own agency. And then Mr. Wonderful here, his kidneys died, and he ended up on dialysis and disability, and he was on the sidelines. And the day he got that new kidney, it brought him back to life. It was like his gas tank went from empty to full overnight. It was pretty amazing. And so he had more energy than I did for my business. And I would come home from running appointments and he'd have business plans and marketing plans and, giving me my phone messages. I took care of this.
I was just answering the phone. She used to work out of the house. That's
yeah. Anyways, so I told him to quit answering my phone and giving advice unless he got a license. So he went and got an insurance license.
Well, so I was a technology consultant. Really, this is a second career for both of us. So she was Fortune 500 selling AR services. I was a technology guy, but it was to banks and brokerages, insurance companies. So when I started answering the phone, I used to teach those classes. I knew what to say. So she got upset when I was answering the question. So I got a license and joined her business.
And then now that was on the insurance side predominantly. And then
the first thing you said is you can't be just insurance.
Right. Because I was doing, that was kind of like in the dawn of the EIAs. And so I was doing, really nice fixed annuities, 5-year annuities, 5-7% interest. Could you believe that? That was hard to sell back then. But that's what we were doing. And so we started incorporating planning and, cash flows and stuff like that. And Jim's like, oh, we need securities license. So I told him to cross over to the dark side if he wanted to. I was going to stay over here with my nice, secure annuities. And he went into the dark side. And shortly after that is when we ran into Market USA Financial. And they crossed me over into the dark side.
They shamed her.
They shamed me.
Her, yes.
That's right. So how has your ideal client, I guess, evolved over the years? Because obviously maybe your client base then at the start has looked a little bit different. What does your ideal client look like today? Who were they 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Well, anybody that would listen to us 20 years ago. So,
well, we were lucky since it was a second career that a couple of older salts just kind of took a liking to us and said, oh, if you're going to do this, don't do it the way I did it. I mean, I did it wrong. And so from the start, people just implanted on us this notion of 1 in 100. They said it's better to have 100 to 150 of the greatest clients in the world rather than what they had. And they said, look, I got hundreds to thousands and I hit this level. If I did it all again, I'd rather have higher net worth people and a smaller set that I can really service. So from the start, we kind of aimed that way. And we used to talk to each other and say, are we nuts? Because we'd count each year how many people we said no to and the millions of dollars we said no to. Yep. And we kept kicking ourselves saying, I don't know if this is right, but that's how we've done it from the start. And whenever we tried to do something different, it didn't work out. And that was really the challenge to us. That if we tried to take on someone that wasn't a fit, we just didn't
trying
do it well.
to be charitable because they really truly needed help, and it usually blew up on us.
Right.
So who describe your ideal client today?
Sure.
Our ideal client are They're all very, very nice people. They're millionaire next doors. Our investable asset minimum will take 750, but most of them are 1 to 3.5, 4 million of investable assets. They're all very well educated. They're all very have a thirst of knowledge they want to understand how and why everything works. I used to say some people just want you to tell them what time it is. Our clients want you to take apart the watch and show them how the gears work. And Jim's happy to do that. He'll keep diving deeper and deeper down a rabbit hole with these people. And all of our clients are very coachable. They're not, they know what they know and they know what they don't know, and they look for experts in the places that they don't know.
More than assets, we used to say they were swans, which is an acronym for smart, works hard, ambitious, and nice. And so we didn't want any wands or swoons or swas. We wanted swans. But literally going through the advisor protocol process, and I don't know if people on the air are aware of that, we really refined that, the attitudinal attributes that we're looking for. And Teresa kind of shot them off. And I jokingly say it reads like the Boy Scout or the Girl Scout oath. They're trustworthy, they're nice, they're honest, they're loyal. If you give them the right information, they will take action, So that's really what's come to the forefront over time, is a simple notion of SWAN really now is this attitudinal matrix of things besides assets that we know we can hit home runs with. We don't have to wonder about it.
Right. And we always explain to our clients, we could have 10 clients with $100,000 worth of assets, or we could have one client with $1 million worth of assets and give them the time and energy and resources that they truly need and desire and want. And they all really get it and appreciate that.
We're going to talk about that, because I know that's been a big thing that you've been working on and spending a lot of time on recently, is really starting to define what some of those services are. I know you guys work, just given the nature of your area, you work with a fair amount of engineers and analytical types and that sort of thing. How do you explain your success with that group, and how do you handle appointments differently with those types? I know, Jim, that's kind of your background a bit, but give me a sense for why you think you've been successful with those types, and how do you handle maybe especially if a husband and wife are a little bit different?
Right. Well, 50% of our clients are ex-IBMers, and Jim worked for IBM out of college. And back in those days, IBM taught them how to dress, how to walk, how to talk, how many words to put on a slide. I mean, and I think that those old salty IBMers really, they were just attracted to Jim because he walked and talked like that.
Well, all of us as advisors, we just have to admit it. We attract who we are, and you work with people who you like. So just embrace that is the first comment. But just coming from a technology background, system engineering type background, I always get a kick out of when they say the engineering types. It's really a bigger slice than that. We're in Research Triangle Park. It's where there's a hotbed of pharmaceuticals, biotechs, management, startups. It's a bigger breed than the way it's described as.
Yeah.
And which I always chuckle, and so that crowd just has a Missouri show me type attitude on just about anything you say. And if you can say, well, here's why, it's a whole different discussion. So it's not necessarily take the watch apart. That's how we always describe it. It's like something doesn't make sense. Help me get why that would work.
They're well educated, but 25% or maybe more of our clients are PhDs.
Well, we joke on my block. I'm the least educated person. I think we have 7 PhDs on my one block. And that's what Research Triangle Park's about. So that's what I'm saying. It's teachers. I mean, we have so many college universities right here too. So they just want to know why, or why is that true, and that permeates everything. Whether it's why is Washington doing what it's doing, and why does the market react that way? So it's not product and pricing detail. It's just help me explain this chaos and madness that I'm trying to navigate through with my finances and my life. That's why we can address that as a couple so well, because there's also the husband-wife. Who knows which one the technician is? Maybe it's the wife, right? And the husband is the VP level sales manager who's just pushing a lot of product, right? So you have to blend that across the family unit and say, this is why these are better steps for you, for your well-being, your financial well-being.
With that in mind, I mean, what does the appointment process look like for you, especially in terms of the two of you? How are you dividing up responsibilities as you go through? Because I think in our industry, there's a fair amount of husband and wife that work together. There's oftentimes different partnerships. And I think this is one of the struggles that a lot of folks wrestle with in terms of who should take the lead when, and especially maybe early on. So how do you guys tackle some of that?
We pass the baton a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we each
depends
have
on
our
the call and where. Depends on the call and where. That's why
we each have our areas of expertise, and we know what we're good at, and we know what each other is good at. And I think the biggest success of a husband and wife team is that the wife, and this isn't necessarily true of your generation, Mark and Matt, and maybe a little bit in my generation, but the older generation, a lot of the women, they have no idea what's going on with finances. They don't understand anything about the market. And what they're wanting is to have a sense of somebody who loves them, cares for them, has their best interests at heart, and is going to be there through thick and thin with them. Also, I think it's important for the less educated financially partner, whether it is the husband or wife, because we do have some where the husbands have no idea what's going on, where they feel comfortable asking questions.
But think about it meeting by meeting. I mean, it always begins with a fit process from our perspective, because we do want it to be a mutual checkout. We want to vet each other to make sure this is a good thing, because otherwise we are wasting each other's time. So let's see if there's value for both of us here. When we do that, I mean, there's a lot of rapport that she opens with, and we both just talk. We're literally want to know, what's important to them. How'd you come to think this way? What'd you do in life? How'd you get burned, or what was your greatest succce? Because, well, I guess we should back up.
Well,
why are we advisors?
Our clients
why are we advisors?
Well, they bear their souls to us. But when Jim had to retire from working and go on Social Security and Medicare, we got horrible advice. We made wrong decisions. And we vowed that if we could ever help somebody else, and we truly do care and love about our clients and want to help them succeed. I don't think Mark's or Matt's ever heard this, but me and the kids never got any Social Security when Jim was on disability. He had 3 dependents.
And remember,
I don't know why, that shouldn't have happened.
My clients were banks and brokerages. So Fidelity, Schwab, Wells Fargo. I mean, I could name the banks in America, let alone across the globe. And so we would talk to those people and say, either on, and we had some big paydays too. So those tax questions, those investment questions. And when I was on the road, because I was a road warrior, she would go to the seminars and she'd come back and tell me what they said at the seminars. And some of the advice was absolutely, malpractice. I'm a 40-year-old who's about to become disabled. Lock up all your money in an annuity that I can't access and leverage your house for it. I mean, it was just
they wanted me to take money out against our house to invest.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So as a result, we did take a vow, and we literally said on a variety of topics, if we ever understand how to do this, we're going to show people, we're going to teach people. Yep. And so that's why we're here. I mean, that is our MO. That's what drives us.
So your first appointment, when you're running that, do you guys confer beforehand, hey, I'm going to take the lead, or you should take the lead, or is it free flow? I mean, do you give, and I guess the same goes for kind of that fit process from there. I'm curious, from that first and second appointment, how are those structured?
It's just like you're sitting in somebody's living room, just conversing, just getting to know someone. We ask a lot of personal questions. There's a lot of stuff we know about our clients that their best friends don't know. Sure. I'm not afraid to ask questions, and people will answer them and bare their souls to us. But once, we get a good idea of who they are and what they are, then we jump into what our process is, what we do for people, how we work, how we operate. introduced the Kairos formula to them.
Well, that's a change actually from advisor protocol. So the fit opens with, here's our pillars, here's what our practice is about, and here's our process. Then we get very, relational. And every fit meeting, at some point, people either do shove stuff across, which we're trying not to see, or we're just so deep into it, the whole meeting will go that way. And we both kind of look at each other and went, well, this was kind of fun. What should we do next? We do the powder, let's just wait, a couple of days. And then we move in. Our second meeting, we call the Pcr meeting.
But the first appointment, during the conversations that we have with them, we're finding out what their income is, what their expenses are, what their investable assets are. High level stuff. Sure. Getting, the big picture of where they're at and when they want to retire. And we also spend a lot of time understanding what their dreams are, not only their financial goals, but we want to know what their goals are for their lives personally.
So real quick, the same way there's a fit meeting, then we have a potential concerns and opportunity review, a PCOR meeting. And we all know the document that we produce if anyone's within USA Financial, and we have tons of backup. So, it's, hour plus meeting easily, of which that's just a summation of what we're doing. So there's a PCOR meeting. If we're going forward, there's literally a discovery meeting, a design meeting, and a deploy meeting. And each one has a whole different feel and take to it. So back
to deliverables.
And so back to your take, in each one of those meetings, we have different roles and responsibility. And the discovery is like it says, we're diving even further past the PCOR. Design is the actual solutions, right? And for us, we're walking in each one of those meetings, whether it's discover, design, deploy, we're walking all the pillars. We're walking wealth, cash flow, tax, estate, charitable, we're health, we're risk. We're walking every one of those things. And that's when people's eyes pop even more. And if we want it, we'll show it. But that's what our service matrix is all about. We want the client to know whether they're just, some people might come in transactional, but real quickly they understand this isn't about a transaction. This is about a relationship, and this is about a much bigger, wider view than they've ever had discussions about. So it's pretty easy for us if we have those distinct meetings.
He wants to know who does what. Well, we have a whole playbook, and it's step by step what's to be done and who's assigned. And it could be me, it could be Jim, it could be Caroline, it could be Kyle, it could be whoever it is. And everybody, it's kind of like a tag. I'm done mine, then the next person goes and does theirs.
And
to what degree are you sharing that with your clients? Are you kind of outlining, hey, at this meeting, you'll be spending more time with Jim on this or more time with Teresa? Do you try to set the stage for that ahead of time, or is it a little fluid with those meetings?
Until we actually are moving money, it's Jim and I. And then once we start moving money, then they have time with everybody else setting things up, learning Iris, which is e-money. They'll work with Kyle setting up e-money and getting everything. And they work with Kyle getting all the paperwork done. And Caroline has a lot to do with them up front, but not necessarily in the meetings. But she is, the point of contact, setting everything up, getting all the materials that we need for each meeting and getting them, mailing them anything that they need from our side. So she is like the marketeer, and Jim and I are, behind the curtain. And
Sure.
So they're like doing things on the other side.
But they meet the staff very quickly.
Right.
In all candor. So
if somebody walks in, all four of us go forward.
Yeah. And once you're at a PCOR, everyone's involved. So like I said, by meeting, there is clear roles. In terms of what do we explain to the clients, it's a very high level. It's just literally, they don't know. They know we're doing a PCOR. We decide whether we're actually engaging the firm after that. And all they really know is there's a discover, a design, a deploy. That's all they know. And we don't break that down into the level of detail that you're kind of asking us about. But yeah, if we're going to do cash flow, you're going to get that to Kyle. You're going to work with Kyle to get in all income and expense. And we might have some follow-up questions. And there'll be different things for Caroline.
You typically follow the same order with your planning process and that whole, especially as you look at the pillars that you're walking them through, the core planning services, if you will, do you typically follow the same script, or do you let them steer the boat a little?
We try, but often there could be a hot button, right? If there's a hot button, something's coming due, big tax event, concentrated portfolio, long-term care events, options, the option is about to vest or I got to take action on. So there can be hot topics that drive or accelerate things differently, and we react to that, no big deal. But otherwise,
we do bring them back to get back on our flow, our flow of what we're going to do in what order.
And we're always starting with cash flow, because to us, it's the foundation of everything. And there's a bit of cash flow in multiple meetings. And I make it sound like we get it done one meeting. I wish that was true, but we call it rinse and repeat. So if we're at discovery, and cash flow is absolutely a rinse and repeat activity. Each time as we meet, if there's something changed, we'll just say, hey, anything new here? And we'll do a quick rinse and repeat just to get that thing corrected up.
And every review meeting we have with a client, it starts with cash flow.
Same comment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rinse and repeat. And we try by quarter, our process real quick. We do state of the markets. It's an update in small groups, in clustered groups, so that they can ask questions. We want it to be small. We just did one. It was one of the bigger ones, like 45 folks were there. But it's so that they can hear our thoughts about things, have other people ask questions. Then they know they come in for the one-on-ones. We have a seasonality. There is a difference between the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. There's some overlaps. For instance,
you're talking on your state of the market meeting. So
on our strategy reviews.
Oh, okay.
So we do state of the markets. And then after state of the markets, we do everybody's one-on-one quarterly review.
The strategy review is what we call it, right?
Okay, so you're quarterly doing a state of the market where you're inviting your clients to come to various events. Are those live or webinars, or
both?
A mix of both?
Both depends on the tiering. That's part of the tiered service. So we told you we tried to do tier services in that 1-100. We just couldn't. It took advisor protocol and us to really, I'm looking at it, it's up on the screen that you aren't seeing, of our service matrix, which says depending on, what level of service and engagement, that's what it really means with us. Okay. Each pillar, there's a differentiation of how much service you get. So that was very important to us. We wanted there to be a pull, a hook, something with real meat and flavor and value for why you went from one level of service to the next at every level of our pillars. So there was a difference in the wealth management, a difference in the tax management, a difference in the cash flows, et cetera. And that's a real draw to get further involved with us.
So that's it's a really interesting thing that you're doing the state of the markets. They have a little bit of I'm assuming you're putting a little seasonality into those in terms of what your reviews or your strategy meetings will be about following those sessions. Correct?
Yeah, first quarter is always a kickoff. So first quarter, it's like a review of last year, and we do a lot of we get some pundits that are compliance approved that had a forecast for last year, and we say how they do. We always like to hold up and say, Wall Street's got a lot of BS on it. Let's try to see who really hits the target or not.
Yep.
So we do that, and then we bring it to the current year forecast. So that's always like first quarter stuff. So that's different. And we kind of have a mid-year, how are we doing? But otherwise, the state of the markets are topical. And this time we did something different.
We did something different this time. We usually have like what we do in person in a restaurant, and then we have a live webinar. This time we actually recorded it and
chunks.
And so we're putting it out there that way instead of having to actually do it live. So people can watch it at their leisure and stop and rewind and,
But to me, what was really different was we kind of fought, and once again, you got to use third-party material that's approved, but we took a Q&A approach. So from the start, we weren't just talking, growth, jobs, markets, economy, rates. We had specific questions that were burning issues on people's heads, like, where are we on COVID? Where are we in the recovery from COVID? Where are we on inflation? Where are we on Fed tapering? Where are we on peak earnings. You know, we had this list of 6 to 8 questions that
They're
we
always-
know.
They're always topical
Debts
about
and deficits. Where are we? You know, what is taxes going to be like?
Are you coming up with those questions, or are you trying to snag them somehow from your clients?
So we came up with the questions, but we use JP Morgan's Guide to the Markets for our materials to present where we at with COVID.
Well, we do myriad. Let's just be blunt.
Yeah.
So JP Morgan's been a mainstay for years. In the COVID, we've used First Trust, has had a lot of COVID tracker things for years. We've done stuff from City National, Rockdale has had some great things, Russell Investments. So what we're doing is we're looking at BlackRock, et cetera. So we're looking at how many different, and we follow like 30, if you want to be blunt. There's 30 sources that we look at, and they usually have what's on an investor's mind. A lot of these things have, you know, what are people thinking
it's
about?
topical, what's in the news.
And so we sit back and go, well, I care about some of those. And then to your comment, conversations on the phone with people, you're hearing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So we said, okay, we know what they care about. Why talk about just generic stuff? Let's just hit them in the face, because this is what's burning their brains up.
Yep.
You know, like if inflation's going to go on the roof, how long? How long will it be? How high will it be? Let's put that on the table and have a talk about it, right? I mean, no one has the answer, but let's frame that conversation with what we know.
You encourage at some of those sessions, are you encouraging them to bring guests that aren't clients, or not necessarily? Okay.
So if they bring clients, if the client brings a guest, they get to sit at the front tables, and everybody with them gets gifts. So we bribe them, so they get to sit at the front table and get a better seat, and it's just GYA swag stuff, but it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I know over the years you've done a bunch of really neat and fun client events, and have found really cool ways to show some appreciation and love to your clients. As you think about some of your favorites that you've done, are there any that either you wouldn't do again, or are there some that you know are just big fan favorites and you'd tell any advisor listening, hey, this was a home run for us?
Well, the biggest out of the park home run, and we do it every year, is the Christmas party. Mm-hmm. And everybody was so sad last year when we didn't get to do a Christmas party in December of 2020. And that's the big question everybody asks when they come in, are we going to have a Christmas party? And what's so special about the Christmas party is they come to my home and I cook for everybody. And I usually have 100 to 120 guests. I do all the cooking, and I have little Santa helpers there helping get it all going. It's an open house. They come and go. And it is a great time. Everybody gets to leave with a poinsettia, and these are not the kind of poinsettias you
These are monsters. These are mini trees, is what these things are.
They're not red. They are just beautiful colors and that kind of thing.
Variegated, pinks, all kinds of wild. So it's all over the house. And so as soon as people walk in the room, the experienced people are already scouting out, which one am I going to grab? Right.
And they take it and put it in their car. But it's a big time had by everybody. It's a lot of fun. It's very festive. And all of our clients really like each other. So it's a really fun thing. We also do what we call 1 in 100, where you can't come to the event unless you bring somebody for us to meet. And it's not a referral. There's no business talk. It's just pure fun, pure pleasure. Just bring someone that's like you, someone like you. Right. And we do fun things. We'll go to baseball games. We go to the Durham Bulls games. We used to go to concerts and plays and all those
things
things that we like to do that they like to do. And they tell us, we tell them, tell us what you want to do, and we'll do it. So one client wanted to have a cooking class. And so we had a cooking class at my house, and we brought in a professional chef and we cooked Thai food, and she invited like 3 or 4 couples. And so we're all in my kitchen, just cooking Thai food and helping the chef. Another really fun
one. We did that other one where at the barn.
Oh, the Angus Barn. It's one of the best restaurants in the state. And the chef is an Iron Chef, actually went and competed and beat Bobby Flay. And they have a cooking kitchen and in a cellar, and it's just breathtaking and beautiful. And it's a big 4 or 5 course meal that we cook.
Those are client ideas. So that's the biggest thing of the 100 that was back in the 1 in 100 days. Now it's our top tier clients we ask, but we look for them to give us ideas on whatever we could do. I got one that I'll just put out there. It's to me memorable, but for probably different reasons. And we can't do it that often. But in the heat of the '08 meltdown, mortgage meltdown, some clients actually came in for reviews and said, how's it going? They said, well, I'm doing good, but all my friends are bummed out. And we said, why? I said, well, they're getting destroyed. And I'm doing okay. And I don't really want to share it because they're so, I can't eat with them. They're depressed. And so we just heard this a couple of times and we said, wow, we need an attitude adjustment. So for that, we called a special, basically state of the market meeting. We rented out a comedy club because we figured people needed some comedy.
And it was supposed to be clean comedy on Sunday nights.
Yeah, PG comedy. It wasn't. It was R-ish. But what we did was
R-light.
We walked through all of those issues in the heat of that battle with them over, margaritas and food, and then went to the comedy club afterwards. So whenever there's a downturn, we haven't had a downturn like that. I'm going back to the comedy club because that's what we needed at that moment.
One thing that I want you to double click on there, that the whole idea of, hey, I want you to bring somebody that's like you. I think one of the things that was really important that you all did during that, you set the stage for it a certain way. So like if somebody's listening and says, oh yeah, I want to do it, I think you have to be very careful to just arbitrarily go to some of your clients and say, hey, we're going to start doing these things. So can you talk a little bit about the setup that you had and what advice you might give to somebody on if they were going to try to go that path, what landmines?
That's a learning curve. That's been a learning curve, right? To be blunt.
Well, probably like 12 years ago or 10, 12 years ago, we did the 1 in 100 and we had a meeting where we had them and we explained what 1 in 100 was. We actually went to a bowling alley. It was one of those psychedelic bowling alleys with the black lights and everything. And we explained what we were trying to do. And that was what we were saying. We want people like you. We tried to set the stage and that we're going to have these events and that you have to bring somebody. There won't be any business, no pressure. If they want our phone number, email address, they'll have to ask us for it because we're not going to just give it to them. One thing I did do is I always take pictures at these events and then I send the pictures to the client and say, I don't have their email address. Could you please forward them? And every time they forward the pictures that I send, the person will send me an email because now they've got my email address because it was a forward and thank me for it.
But back to positioning, that wasn't that good, even though we tried. So to me, it was good for us, but advisor protocol with the reframing,
right?
The whole reframing meeting is taking that up to a higher notch. Mm-hmm. And that's the point. And we're in that process right now. So, stay tuned. But as we're reframing that way with the service matrix, we think we can be a lot more specific.
One thing real quick on these introductions we get in these events, very rarely do those people that come to those things ever become clients. Rarely. But what it does is it gets our clients in the frame mind that we're wanting them to refer people to us or introduce people to us. So what happens is we take them and some of their friends, none of them become clients, but then they'll tell one of their other friends about us when the opportunity happens that somebody's looking for somebody. Sure. So those people that were our clients that we're doing these introductory events on, they do refer us, but it's rarely the people that they bring.
Well, that's also older than more recent. More recent, they've been a lot better, don't you think?
And I would bet that's a training thing, and that's a time.
But it gets the clients at the right mindset of, bringing people to us, referring people to us, introducing people to us.
Okay, gang, but before I hand this off to Matt to wrap up here in a minute, I have to ask you this. Sure. So as you think about what's on your radar to implement in the next 6 months, and I know you've seen some really cool growth in your assets under management. I know you crossed the 100 million mark, if I recall from conversation. And what's next for you? And not necessarily goal, but what are you trying to implement in the practice that you're excited about?
My number one thing is, and it's something I've been trying to do for years and years, and that is what I call my Turning 65 series, where I want to have a series of meetings with people who are, 60 to 65 and want to cover all the hot topics, all the burning topics of people who are nearing retirement, Social Security, taxes, Medicare, long-term care, creating income from their nest eggs, all those burning things, trying to lift the covers a little bit and show them what our process is like.
Putting that out front a little more to take them through all of the
right.
Right. Yep. Jim, how about you? What's on your radar?
A couple. On the marketing side, we've done a lot over the years, not successfully, on centers of influence. I think where we're at now is a perfect time to take the next step on a center of influence. We've done like CE training and things like that for various groups. So I hope we make progress on center of influence on the sales side. On the service and the support side, we have like some tactical ones. We have some new solutions, but to me, in general, raising the bar, it's what I call plan-based strategy reviews. You've heard me talk about that. Like we said, not product, not pricing, but
Not
where
performance.
are we? Not performance even. Well, it's performance against plan. It's not performance against market. So we're hoping to take the next bite forward on that too. That'd be another big thing win if we could do it.
Yep.
And with some other new solutions, and there's the service matrix that we've blown out, we want to deliver on. So it's just like taking that even finer and stronger, more impact.
Yep. Mr. Eilers?
45 minutes is just not enough time to.
I know,
connect
that's
with you
the thing.
two.
I keep looking at the clock and I hate it.
Time flies. We love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was good to see you in person a few weeks ago in Orlando at our mastermind event.
Totally.
And not the same seeing you on video, but it was good to get the hugs and catch up. But so thank you. There are a couple of things for everyone that was in attendance that I did want to just mention that I had jotted down here on my notes that really jumped out me. Jim and Teresa are careful to identify the attitudinal qualities of their ideal clients. They've given that a lot of thought. Jim mentioned the PCOR, the potential concerns and opportunities report, and the review that they do around that. The process playbook, having specific descriptions for who does what as a part of their different processes, especially around meetings. The service matrix, we heard that talked about, and how they're tiering services and some different client event examples and ideas and how they're setting the stage for making the introduction. And then also came up a couple times as the advisor protocol process. All of those things that I jotted down, those are items we'd love to chat with any of you about. That if that rang a bell and you'd like to learn a little bit more, we'd love to chat. So someone from our team will reach out and we connect with you on some of those items or anything else that jumped out. So it's pretty simple. Really, we're an easygoing bunch. We put our focus on relationships, and at the end of the day, that's what makes this business fun. So when one of our team reaches out, connect with them, have a chat. So in conclusion, I just want to thank Mark for facilitating this. Jim and Teresa, thank you so much again for spending the time and sharing your practice with us here and then everyone out there. We appreciate the friendship, the partnership, and everything that you guys bring to the table. So everyone else, thank you for taking the time to spend with us and view this session of the Advisor Advancement Mastermind series. And until next time, have a great week, and thanks again.
Thanks, Jim.
See ya.
Thanks, Teresa. We'll see you guys.
All right, y'all.